Let the people decide.
Is it true that you're also about to fund a High Court challenge against the carbon tax?
Well, our advice is that the carbon tax in its current form is unconstitutional, and that's recognised in the legislation itself. When it says if it's found to be unconstitutional, the government will create a lot of charges through other acts. That's in the legislation. Now, I think the Constitution of Australia is much more important than having a number of lawyers or Parliament trying to slip around it. The Constitution sets out how it should be changed, how the states should vote. The majority of Australians have a democratic right to vote.
On what grounds is it unconstitutional?
Well, the grounds are set out in legal advice, and they'll be coming in the High Court. I can't answer that question because I'm not a lawyer. I can only go on the advice that I'm given.
I thought you were a reasonably good bush lawyer. You started in the prosecutor's office, didn't you? You must understand the argument.
I never worked in a prosecutor's. No, I never worked in the prosecutor's office, but we think it's unconstitutional. You can't really tax carbon. The other thing about it, of course, is it's a joke, because the air moves right around the world. If you tax something in Australia, those industries will go offshore, those jobs will go offshore, and the same amount of carbon will be emitted in the atmosphere. What we need is a global approach to the taxing of carbon or the regulating of carbon or regulating of industry. We don't want something that discriminates against Australian industry and Australian workers.
Isn't you putting your hand in your pocket to fund a High Court challenge a sign of what the Treasurer says about you distorting public debate? How many other Australians could do that with a law that they don't like?
Well, they've all got the right to go to the High Court. That's what we're talking about here, the rights. And I'm not putting my hand in my pocket, I'm not doing anything. The companies I own, who are large corporations, have got the rights to go to the High Court. That's what it's set up to do, you know. That's the country we live in, freedom of speech. We've all got the right to say what we think. You may not agree with it, but that's a right we fought for in many world wars. So I'm a supporter of freedom of speech and democracy in this nation.
Sure, but as you say, it's the companies that you own. You're the ones who are directing them to go to the High Court, and that's the way you choose to spend their money.
I've never paid $1. I can say I've given away this year more than 100 times the Treasurer's salary to Australians who are needy. I wonder if the Treasurer, how much of his salary has he given away to Australians that need that work? I've certainly done that. I've set up a $100 million trust in Western Australia for Aboriginal people and medical research. I've donated $6 million to the Duke of Edinburgh Award so young Australians who can't afford it can go on and do their programs. So, you know, really, this is a little bit of a joke, really.
Why then do you think the Treasurer sees you as a poison that infects our politics and it's now seeping into our economy? They're strong words, aren't they?
Well, if I've done anything wrong, he should prosecute me or something like that. Of course, he sees that because he's desperate. You know, one day a rooster, next day a feather duster, and he doesn't want to become a feather duster, so he'll distort anything. The Labor Party will distort anything. And in a spirit of love and reconciliation, we can forgive the Treasurer. But the Australian people will never forgive the Labor Party for destroying the opportunities of our children and future generations. My family's got a strong commitment to this country. We fought in the First World War and people have died. I had four of my family members fight in the Second World War. 3 of them now are still injured from Vietnam. My nephew served with Interfed up in East Timor. We believe in Australia and the things it stands for. And we believe in our right of free speech in this country to say what we think. Even if you're a billionaire, you're still Australian, you're still a citizen. We don't want to categorise people by who they are, where they come from, or where they are in society. All of us as Australians have a right to have a point of view and to say something. It's you, the media, that should highlight more diversity in our country rather than clanging on to me or the Treasurer.
Well,